For decades, your personal data in India has basically been a free-for-all, a wild west for businesses. Well, guess what? The party is officially over. A new law has just dropped, and trust me, it's a total game changer. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack what this tectonic shift means for you, and maybe more importantly, for every single business operating in India. I mean, we've all been there, right? The phone buzzes, it's a number you don't recognize, and someone's offering you a personal loan. Or your inbox is just a graveyard of marketing emails you swear you never, ever signed up for. And look, this isn't just some small annoyance. It's a symptom of a system where your personal information was treated like a commodity, something to be freely bought and sold with zero oversight.
So for the longest time, the legal framework for data in India was, to put it nicely, a very leaky boat. It was just a patchwork of old rules that were never really designed for our digital age. And this whole environment allowed entire business models to be built on this one core assumption, that customer data was a cheap, easy-to-get resource, and there were virtually no consequences for misusing it.
And this idea right here, it's the earthquake that just reshaped the entire landscape. We're talking about the new Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or the DPD Act for short, and it has completely flipped the power structure upside down. Think about it. Before, businesses pretty much acted like they owned your data, but now? Oh, the law makes it crystal clear. That data is yours. It's locked away, and your explicit consent is the one and only key.
Okay, so to really get how huge this change is, we gotta take a step back and look at the chaos that came before. And honestly, when it came to data protection, it really was the Wild West out there. So what was the deal? Why was it so broken? Why did adding your number to a Do Not Disturb registry feel like you were just shouting into the void? Well, the system wasn't just flawed. It was pretty much designed to fail at protecting you. Wow, this slide really tells the story, doesn't it? It shows the old laws weren't even about privacy. That IT Act from 2000, its main job was just making sure e-documents were legally valid. That's it. And the TRI regulations meant to stop spam calls? They put all the pressure on the telecom companies, not the marketing firms actually making the calls. A telemarketer could just get a new SIM card and be right back in business. I mean, come on, it was a joke. Okay, so let's break it down. There was no single regulator to hold anyone accountable. The law only cared about super sensitive data, like passwords, which means the stuff you share all the time, your name, your email, your phone number, had absolutely zero protection. And even if you could prove a company wronged you, the fines were tiny and you had to prove they did it with wrongful intent, which is, almost impossible to do.
This quote we pulled really it hits the nail on the head. For years, personal data was the cheapest fuel you could find for business growth in India. It literally shaped marketing strategies, it built sales funnels, and it powered entire industries. Well, that era, it's over. It's dead. That low-hanging fruit has now been put behind a fortified wall, and you can't even get close to it without permission. So, what was the spark? What finally pushed India from this totally broken system to a real modern data protection law? Well, it was the rise of a massive digital identity program that made the risks absolutely impossible to ignore. Okay, it all really starts to build from here. Aadhaar digitized identity for over 1 billion people, which is an incredible achievement. But as reports of data leaks started popping up, a pretty chilling realization started to sink in. All of this centralized data was a ticking time bomb, without a strong law to protect it. All this public anxiety led to the landmark 2017 Supreme Court ruling that privacy is a fundamental right, and that really set the stage for the DPDP Act we have today.
And that, right there, brings us to the new reality. The DPDP Act isn't some minor update. It's a total teardown and rebuild of India's privacy rules, and it's all centered on one incredibly powerful principle: your consent. Yeah, this slide really gets to the heart of it. It's like a philosophical earthquake. The old world on the left, businesses collected your data and just treated it as their own asset. The new world on the right, the law now recognizes that you are the owner. Businesses are just temporary guardians or fiduciaries, and they have a strict legal duty to protect what you've given them. And listen, the word consent itself has been totally supercharged. This isn't about hiding some pre-checked box in a 50-page terms of service agreement anymore. It has to be freely given, no tricking people. It has to be specific. If you ask for data for one purpose, you can only use it for that purpose. It has to be informed. Users have to know exactly what they're agreeing to. And it has to be unambiguous. One clear action for one clear purpose. That's the new gold standard. And look, if all those principles don't get a business's attention, trust me, this number will.
Let that sink in. 250 crore rupees. That's the maximum penalty for a single data breach. We're not talking about a slap on the wrist here. This is a figure that can absolutely cripple or even bankrupt a company. The financial risk of not complying just went from basically zero to existential. So the rules have changed. The penalties are terrifying. What does this actually mean for a business on a day-to-day basis? It means every company that handles personal data now has a new legal identity and a very heavy set of new responsibilities that come right along with it. Okay, this is the one term you have to remember: data fiduciary. If you collect a customer's email for a newsletter or a phone number for a delivery, well, congratulations, you're a data fiduciary now. The law literally has a name for you, and with that name comes absolute legal liability for protecting that data. And get this, there are even levels to it. If your company handles massive amounts of data or really sensitive information, you can be designated a significant data fiduciary. Yeah, you can think of it like a boss level for compliance. It requires you to appoint data protection officers and conduct mandatory audits. The bigger your data footprint, the bigger your responsibility. Okay, this Zomato example is perfect for explaining one of the biggest changes: the chain of liability. You order food from Zomato. They pass your data to the restaurant, which then passes it to a payment service. In the old days, Zomato's contracts would have pushed the legal risk down the line to their partners. Not anymore. Now, if that payment gateway gets breached, the law sees it as Zomato's failure. No matter what, the finger always points back to the company at the top. So the really crucial takeaway here is this: you just can't pass the buck anymore. Businesses are now responsible for the security practices of their entire ecosystem. And those fancy indemnity clauses you have in your vendor contracts, they're not going to save you. If the link in your chain breaks, you are the one facing those 250 crore penalties, period. Okay, so this is obviously a monumental shift, right? It's a huge operational challenge for so many businesses that were built on the old, relaxed rules. So the big question is, where do you even start? How do you even begin to navigate this new world? This comparison is everything. Calling this India's GDPR or CCPA moment, that's the key to understanding what's about to happen. Because when those laws were passed in Europe and California, they didn't just create new rules. They created a multi-billion-dollar industry of tech solutions built just to help companies comply. We are about to see the exact same thing happen right here in India. And here's the solution Act itself practically spells out: the rise of the consent manager. Just think of it like a neutral third party that builds the digital plumbing for trust. For you, the user, it's a single dashboard to see and control all the permissions you've ever given out. And for businesses, it's the essential toolkit to collect, manage, and prove you have consent in a way that's totally compliant. These platforms are about to become the new backbone of India's digital economy. So, there you have it. This is the new reality. The old way of doing business, of treating data as some limitless, free resource, is officially over. The DPDP Act has rewritten the fundamental rules of the game. And really, the question for every single business out there is pretty simple: are you ready to play by them?